Hello, and welcome back to Fairytale TV, where we bring you the bright and bestest from Fairytale Land. In our first broadcast, we brought you a varied selection of programming, and today will be no different. But first, a quick reminder of what we showed you last time. We had a marvellous introduction to a YouTube cookery channel.
The frozen ones aren't too bad. Finders do quite a good one.
The cosmic.
A fashionista telling us the shoe wear that changed her life.
I nabbed him hook, line and sinker.
We also had to break into our transmission to hear from a disgraced former Mayor of London. Not that one.
I was a victim of the fake chic in a certain red-top newspaper.
But they were all right.
And finally, one female took us back to her university days and a house share with 7 men.
One I barely saw, because he'd dart off to his room as soon as he heard me. One was usually fast asleep. And one always seemed to be getting man flu.
Lovely. And remember, you can subscribe to that particular cookery channel at any time. Now, first off tonight, one comment in our previous broadcast got a lot of attention from the Stepmothers Union.
All stepmothers are evil.
They asked for the opportunity for a stepmother to be given the right to reply, so without further ado...
I really don't know why such a fuss was made myself. After all, she got what she wanted, and it needed me to play my part so that it could create the great fiction that it now is. If it wasn't for me, she wouldn't be where she is now. The ultimate rags to riches story, as they say. Yes, I may have overworked her a little and lavished my attentions on my daughters, but that's natural, surely. Oh, and I pretended to be deeply contrite when the truth came out. But I still think he made a big mistake in marrying her. Such a boring pair. Mind you, it hasn't been a fairy tale ending for either of them. He has become corpulent and flatulent, and she has had work done by her godmother, no less, who I have still never met, strangely enough. But even her powers couldn't stretch far enough to make it work. But then apparently she's 3 sheets to the wind a lot of the time. Oh, well, she pretended to be all magnanimous and forgiving as she made sure that her stepsisters were married off but to men who were obsequious to her husband. I'm still with her silly old duffer of a father, and it is quite clear where I stand in the pecking order. Oh, but don't believe all the stories that you've heard about us being cruel to her, though, and ripping her dress so that she couldn't go to the ball. That's just tabloid fodder that somebody released to the press. And all those stories about pumpkins and mice, well, I'm pretty sure she made that up because she always was an attention seeker. Plus, I reckon that she had the glass slippers made and she deliberately left one behind whilst wearing other shoes. Because who can move in glass shoes? I still remember the smirk on her face as myself and my daughters tried to force our feet into one of those shoes. So, whatever you may have heard, she's not the goody two-shoes that legend would have her be. And as for me and my reputation, well, I've had the last laugh. Because, as every performer knows, it's much more fun to play the villain. Oh, yes, it is. Chocolate.
We do hope that set the record straight. And if not, well, better luck next time. Now, we wouldn't want you to go without your regular food-related slot, so let's get along to Mum's Kitchen.
Phew, it's hot in here. Oh, it's pie day today and I've had the oven on all afternoon. I've done 4 dozen mincemeat, 50 cheese and onion, and my speciality, chili bean and potato. Oh, and a few jam tarts for our Jack. Yeah. And not one soggy bottom amongst them. No, I've just got one more tray to come out and then we're done. Life is good. Not like last year though. Oh no. Do you know, life is tough. I mean, you know, I'm a single mum and our Jack, he's not got much business sense, no. And he came home once with these beans and then he suddenly grew this great big giant beanstalk in the garden. Well, of course, he had to climb it, didn't he? And you know, one day I'm outside in the garden talking to my neighbour and then suddenly I had this scream as Jack comes sliding down this great big beanstalk and then this voice comes out of nowhere. Fee, fi, fo, fum. And then he gets to the bottom and he chops it down and the next thing, boom! I mean, what do you do with a dead giant? I mean, it was a pretty giant at that as well. I mean, there was no blood on him, not to mark, well, not what I could see anyway. But it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. No, it was more like Antonio Banderas, only bigger, rugged. I suppose not all giants have to be ugly, do they? No. And then do you know what happened next? He opened his eyes, these great big brown pools of chocolate, and he flicks his long eyelashes and then he smiles and the next thing, well, I can't remember the next thing because I fainted. Must have been the shock, I suppose. Oh, I better check my pies. Hang on a second. Let's have a wee look. Oh yes, they're looking good. Let's come on out. Oh yes, they're a bit hot. Let's put them up there to cool down. That's lovely. A few more to add to the pile. Jack's gone veggie since we chopped the beanstalk down. The beanstalk's grown back, but not as big, but it's given me plenty of beans for my pies. Yeah, he's off down market now. We've got a stall on Indoor Market and it's doing really well. You know, George has really helped him with his business sense and his morals. You know, he's never going to steal from anybody ever again. No. Yeah, I mean, he needs a father figure, does our Jack, and he really looks up to him, he really does. You're probably wondering who George is. He's my new fella. And he dropped into our lives just at the right time. He said it was love at first sight. Well, it floored me too, I must say. Yeah, I mean, Jack really looks up to him. I mean, the whole village does. He's down there at the moment putting up the Christmas lights. He said it's only going to take him about 5 minutes. Yeah. Oh, he did an extension on our house last week. Finished it off. It's all done. It's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, I mean, he has me in the palm of his hand. He really does. Yeah, so I can hear him now. He's coming. Oh, he must be about a mile away, I think. Yeah, he'll be here in a minute. I better get some pies out ready. He'll need a snack before tea. He will indeed. You know, it just goes to show, you know, not all giants have to be horrible. Some of them are really lovely. And you should really let them into your lives.
Once again, a bountiful selection to get your mouth watering. We're never quite sure how her beau manages to fit into the house, but I'm sure they have their ways and means. Next, it's time for our business department to bring you their usual Entrepreneur of the Week, and this one may come as a bit of a surprise.
People say to me, Cinders, you had it all and you gave it all away. And I get that. I mean, to the casual observer, it did all seem very romantic. But we barely knew each other. And how long could a relationship based on having the correct shoe size realistically last? I know it seemed like the fairy tale ending, but the wedding cake was barely digested when I realised we'd made a mistake. You are going to think I'm nuts, but I really miss the cleaning. I know. Who would prefer scrubbing and sweeping to living the high life? But to be honest, I had, probably still have, maybe a touch of OCD. I can't help loving the shine on a nicely clean floor. Oh, the smell of furniture polish, a good toilet duck. The prince couldn't handle it. He thought that grabbing a duster or a mop was demeaning, whereas I thought it was living. So it wasn't long until we got divorced and I was using my settlement to finance setting up my own business. The C&B cleaning company. Oh, C&B. Cinderella and Buttons. Well, you didn't think I'd leave him living alone with my stepmother and stepsisters, did you? Oh, don't get me wrong. There was no romance between us. We just always got along very well, and I thought he would make the perfect business partner. And I was right. 25 years later, and we've got the biggest contract cleaning company in town. Buttons looks after the books, and I still get my hands dirty in a rubber glove every now and again. Well, I did mention the OCD, didn't I? I really don't regret giving up being a princess. The whole castles and luxury really wasn't for me. And the prince moved on pretty quickly. He married a gorgeous girl, but he's still unlucky in love. Well, she suffers from narcolepsy, and they call her Sleeping Beauty. Oh. As for me, I never married again. My perfect man is hard to find. I mean, it's a rare bloke who has a passion for a vacuum cleaner, or a collection of J-cloths, or a real interest in getting the most difficult stains out of your whites. But who knows? Maybe my fairy godmother will wave her magic wand again one day. But for now, I have cleaning to do.
It is good to see small businesses thriving in Fairytale Land. And finally tonight, as we cater for all sectors of society, we are going to run a couple of short clips from an online channel that centres on low-level criminality. But please, don't be alarmed. The channel is called Giant Opinions. And once that is done, we will be having a quick chat over the phone with the gentleman in question.
This country is finished. Law and order is a joke. I blame that Dalek in number 10. Emptying the prisons to make room for pensioners for writing a tweet. Actually, that's not a bad idea. It'll be warmer in strange ways than it will be in my gaff this winter. And it's not just the government that's robbed me. It was all over Twitter.
They've got him. He's up in court next week. Bad after listening to his sob story about coming from a broken home and his poor widowed mum. The judge will probably give him a slap on the wrist, a big cuddle, and 2 weeks of solitary TikTok. I'd had a good week up until then. Ransacked a couple of castles, looted a village, and chased a few queens. Well, I am normally busy around the holidays. Long story short, he sneaks in the castle, takes all our savings, a lifetime of arguing, gone. And it's not just about the money. We'd had that goose since it was an egg. I tell you, if I'd answered the door, the only thing he would have got away with was a toe of my clog right up his crumpet. Sticky-fingered little swine! Even had away with the harp. Can't have got much for it. It's more sentimentally valued than that. It belonged to my mother. She was an harpy. Doubt I'll see it again. He probably sold it on the street for some more magic beans like I did the family cat. Oh yeah, he's got form. Bloody junkies!
Mr. Giant, thank you for joining us on the phone. can you tell us what happened after the thief had fled?
I chased him to the end of the road, but out of nowhere there's a beanstalk where the chipper used to be. Next thing I know, I'm flat on my back, and he stood over me with a big bloody axe. You can't make it up. Anyway, I talked to the plod. They didn't want to know. They ended up arresting me. He'd grassed me up about the golden eggs, hadn't he? So now they're doing me for tax evasion. I'll end up doing longer than him. What a life, eh? Apparently, the cells are full of them. There's a bigamist they found living with 7 blokes, a woman who's been done for kidnapping a stepdaughter, and a local dignitary who's a little bit too fond of his cat.
I see. Well, it certainly sounds like a mini crime wave going round Fairytale Land at the moment. So, what are your plans for the future?
We're thinking about selling up. The wife fancies Lilliput, but I don't think so. I don't like little people. They get right under my feet.
I'm sure that won't be the case. Just a couple more questions and then I'll let... Hello? Hello? Oh, he appears to have gone. No matter, it's time for close down anyway. Be sure to tune in next time for some more top-notch programmes from Fairytale TV. Until then, it's goodbye. Oh yes it is.